I'd like to welcome back our choir director, Mary Apt. We missed you.
I missed you.
Good morning. Welcome again. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am so glad that you are here with us this morning. One of the things that I love about this congregation is that it is filled with artists. And some of those artists are our young people. You may recognize Wilson. Do you want to give a wave, Wilson? This is Wilson. He's been singing in the choir this summer, and he has an interest in the artist Keith Haring and did a report on him for school. He has drawn some Keith Haring-inspired work and is having a pop-up art show this Wednesday from 5 to 7 at 173 Commercial Street. So please stop by if you're in town. And Brenda and Char's grandson, Daniel, is another young artist in our midst, now 11 years old. And he has an entry in the Provincetown Art Association's annual 12 by 12 auction. Now, Daniel is inspired by the sunset, so his is a sunset painting, and you can see it at Pam or online on their website, and that is through August, and he is lot 267. So, blessings on all you artists and budding artists out there. We know that creating art is a spiritual practice for many of us. We don't have our spoken candles of joy and sorrow today because we have the exciting ritual of a baby dedication. But I do want to light one special candle this morning. I did send an email out earlier in the week that some of you got, but I want to let you know that Reverend Dave Johnson died this week. Dave served here for 2 years as the interim minister before I got here. So we are thinking of Dave this morning. And also, as we light our candle of remembrance for Reverend Johnson, I invite you to name aloud any loved ones, friends, or acquaintances that have passed away this summer, and this candle can be for them too. Please join me now in a spirit of prayer and meditation. After our spoken prayer and a time of silence, we will sing together Spirit of Life, hymn number 123, which is also printed in your order of service. We'll sing first in English and then in Spanish. Our service today is about care for creation, and our prayer is by Lynn Harrison. Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world, we join together this day with loving hearts, hands and minds, embracing the interconnected web of water, air, and earth. We light a fire of sustaining hope, ever bright with love and justice. May we bring forth this day new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world not of wealth, but well-being. A world of new peace and abundance for all. As we give thanks for this earth, our shared and singular home, may we dedicate ourselves to its ongoing care, rising to the calls deep within us and all around us. May we respond today and always with courage and with love. Amen. In one of my favorite children's novels, The Indian in the Cupboard, a boy named Omri gets some disappointing gifts for his birthday. A white metal medicine cabinet that his brother found on the side of the road, and a small plastic Indian figurine from his best friend Patrick. The medicine cabinet has a lock but no key. Omri's mother searches through her collection for the key to her grandmother's jewelry box, and miraculously, it fits. That night, Omri places the little plastic figure in the cupboard and locks it. And in the morning, when he turns the key and opens the cupboard, a tiny Indian figure has come to life as a 3-inch tall Iroquois chief named Little Bear. At first, Little Bear thinks Omri is a god, but soon learns that he is just a boy from the future. And Omri learns that Little Bear is from the 18th century, transported through time by the magic of the cupboard and the little key. The two debate the difference between being real and being plastic. Little Bear has never heard the word before. Plastic, he says. What is plastic? They didn't have plastic when Little Bear is from. That is hard for any of us to imagine, a world without plastic. But really, we don't have to go very far back in history to find a world without it. This week, I called my grandmother, who is 96. I asked her about plastic. Did they have much of it growing up? Oh no, she said. Did they have plastic knives and forks, plastic bags, coffee to go with plastic lids? No. What about your lunch at school, I asked. How did you wrap up a sandwich? I didn't have to do that, she said. We went home for lunch. The school was 2 blocks away and everybody was let out for lunch. None of the mothers worked, so they could receive their children for an hour in the middle of the day, give them a home-cooked lunch. I asked my parents. Same thing. They went home for lunch. But if you needed to pack a sandwich, I said, how did you do that? Wax paper, my mother said. No plastic. By the time I was bringing a lunch to school, a sandwich was put into a little plastic baggie. I remember that we had the cheap kind, the ones where you folded over the top flap to close it. My friends had the Ziploc bags. I was so jealous. I'd watch them press together the sides with that yellow and blue make green seal, and I was green with envy. But those were more expensive, and they had more plastic. I looked at the grocery store this week for the old school plastic bags, but they don't even have them anymore. Now they have the kind with zippers. You don't have to line up the ridges yourself anymore. I guess that is too much effort. Now you just grip the plastic zipper and then seal it. And after you've used it, you throw it away. When did we start throwing everything out after one use? We used to darn our socks, my father told me. You would never throw out a sock just because it had a hole in it. That would be incredibly wasteful. And who had money to buy everything new all the time? Not now. Now everything's plastic. Everything's disposable. Everything is buy me cheap right now and throw me out later. You used to have to save up for things, my father told me. You waited all summer to earn money by returning glass bottles at the redemption center, not plastic bottles, glass. And you'd return them for 5 cents, and you'd save up and buy yourself something. And then you'd take care of it, because it was special to have something new. takeout? I asked him. What did they use for takeout before plastic? Takeout, he said. No one got takeout. First of all, no one could afford to eat out. You cooked at home. But if you did have the luxury of someone else cooking for you, it was a special occasion. You went to a restaurant and ate off china. No paper plates, no paper napkins, no plastic forks, no to-go containers. So when did we start throwing everything out after one use? When did we start making everything so cheaply that it isn't worth repairing it when something gets a hole in it? It's a relatively recent phenomenon, and it all has to do with plastic. Here's some history. In 1863, elephant ivory was getting scarce, so an American ivory billiard ball manufacturer offered a $10,000 reward to any inventor who could find an alternative material to make billiard balls. Amateur inventor John Wesley Hyatt took up the challenge and started experimenting with cotton wool and nitric acid. He devised the material cellulose nitrate, which he called celluloid, an off-white and malleable material that would hold its shape in the right situations. Unfortunately, celluloid billiard balls were slightly explosive and produced a loud bang when hit together. Nevertheless, Mr. Hyatt's invention went on to have thousands of uses, with commercial celluloid enabling the development of movie film. While the very first cinema film reels were made of paper, celluloid's strength and malleability meant that it was the perfect material for making films. This flammable plastic could be made into long strips and painted with a chemical that would alter in the presence of light. Celluloid arrived just at the right time, enabling the wide distribution of Hollywood movies. In 1907, Bakelite arrived on the scene, a plastic made as a synthetic byproduct of coal gas. It was brittle and dark brown, but could be formed into many different and lasting shapes. Its electrical insulation properties made it perfect for light fittings, plugs, and sockets. Bakelite opened the way for development of other synthetic plastics that would come over the next half-century. By adding extra chemicals to plastic, inventors could make it elastic and soft. These properties were perfect for hospital equipment and allowed glass bottles and rubber tubing to be replaced by bags and pipes. Disposable syringes, all of which could be replaced, made it easier to keep hospitals hygienic and save lives. The use of plastics really exploded during World War II. Plastics had countless applications. Nylon was used to replace silk parachutes. Acrylics were used for the windows on bomber turrets. And plastic helmets replaced heavy metal ones. But it wasn't just on the war front that plastics were exploding. In 1933, Ralph Wiley, a Dow Chemical Lab worker, accidentally discovered another plastic, polyvinyl iodine chloride, which became known as Saran TM. The plastic was first used to protect military equipment and later for food packaging. Saran would cling to almost any material, bowls, dishes, pots, and even itself, and became a terrific tool for maintaining the freshness of food at home. Who here has a roll of Saran wrap in their kitchen drawer? In 1946, Tupperware was developed in the United States by Earl Silas Tupper, who cleverly promoted his line of polyethylene food containers through a network of housewives who sold Tupperware at parties. And of course, in 1954, Robert Vergobi patented zipper storage bags meant for storing pencils, but it soon became apparent that the bags could do much more, and Ziploc bags were introduced to the market in 1968. They just didn't make their way into my house. Now we're entering the time period of the plastic revolution. Economies of scale meant that plastic could be very cheap, but only when manufactured on a large scale. Single-use plastic products like cutlery, plates, and cups started to appear. It was a marketer's dream, completely disposable. They could free the consumer from chores like doing dishes. And so plastic sparked a throwaway culture. No product symbolized this more than the single-use plastic bag, which was marketed to an initially reluctant public in the 1970s without any thought for what it would do to the environment once thrown away. And all the children in the congregation, if you haven't yet gotten a children's activity packet, in the back of the sanctuary, there's some pictures of what happens when those plastic bags get into our oceans. But of course, there is no way for plastics to be thrown. Because of their very stable chemical structure, plastics do not biodegrade or dissolve in water. These, of course, are the very remarkable properties that make them so special. But once they have been used and then discarded, they stay in the environment for 100 years or more. And since the oceans are pretty much downhill from everywhere, they tend to end up there. By the time I came on the scene in 1980, plastics were already a daily thing, but still nothing like it is today. Yogurt came in plastic, but also had lids, and we saved the containers and stored things in them later. Soda didn't come in glass anymore, that was plastic, but we still gathered them up and brought them to the grocery store to redeem for bottle return money. Plastic bags at the grocery store were an option, but you were asked, paper or plastic? And in August and September every year, we were sure to answer paper. And the first week of the school year was spent covering my school textbooks with wrapping made from paper bags. There was an art to it, and it was mandatory. But plastic wasn't done yet. In 1996, salad in a bag packaging was introduced. And in the year 2000, flexible plastic tubes for yogurt became available, making it possible to enjoy a tasty, calcium-rich snack on the go. Spoons were too much bother. And even if all you bought at the store was a single Go-Gurt, you could be sure they'd give it to you in a plastic bag. Today, American consumers discard around 33.6 million tons of plastic each year, and only 6.5% of that is recycled. By 2050, there will be more plastic by weight in the world's oceans than fish. You heard me correctly. By 2050, there will be more plastic by weight in the world's oceans than fish. This week, one of my very favorite Provincetown traditions happens: the homemade boat race. The race raises awareness about just how much plastic and trash is in our oceans, and raises money for the Center for Coastal Studies, who help to protect our precious oceans and sea creatures and beaches. Here's what happens. As the event title suggests, the boats are all homemade. And they're not just homemade, they're made entirely from found objects. Abandoned beach chairs, chunks of styrofoam, plastic that has washed up on our beaches that the boat makers have collected. The boats go out into the harbor, around 3 buoys, and back to shore. Usually, about half the boats don't make it. Others get dragged in, but everyone has fun. Zoe Lewis is the MC this year for extra fun. It's become a tradition of ours to watch it together, so you are all invited Thursday at 5 p.m. right across the street on the beach in front of the Crown and Anchor. I will see you there. I love that the homemade boat race is such a community event. I love that everything the boats are made of are reused items that would be considered trash and rescued from the beaches. I love laughing until my stomach hurts. But here's what else I love. Each of those homemade boats are a reminder to me of our blue boat home, our beautiful, precious earth, fragile planet, miracle of creation. Many religious practices and traditions have their roots in the science, economics, and politics of their time of origin. Why do Catholics eat fish on Fridays? Some say it was a way to prop up the fishing industry. Why did kosher food laws take hold? Some say they align with food safety best practices that kept people from getting sick. So perhaps purging plastic from our daily lives should be not only a habit that we work on, but one attended to with a sense of religious devotion, a faith practice, a daily ritual of abstaining from disposable plastic because of our deeply held religious beliefs. The belief that we are called to care for creation and to preserve this earth for our children, grandchildren, and all creatures to come. It's our job to get creative about being stewards of the earth and to get the next generation excited about doing a better job than we have done. At coffee hour today, you might just run into a recycling angel who is going to help you figure out if what you are throwing out should really go in the recycling. Remember, recycling is a religious practice for us. If the culture of plastic is something that is not even as old as my grandmother, then we need to use the rest of our lifetimes to put it in check and reverse the devastating disposable path we are on. We owe this to Alexander and Adelaide, to Wilson and Daniel and Grace, to all the children in our lives. Mark Miodownik, a writer for the BBC who offered many of the facts and figures for today's service, writes, "The answer isn't to ban plastics. They are massively useful, not least in our homes, hospitals, and transport systems. The way forward is for us to engage more with plastics, to build trust in and love of plastics again. It is only by understanding that they are indispensable and relearning how to value them that we will summon the political will to end the era of disposability. And in my opinion, the first step in that direction is to stop looking at disposable, chemical-filled materials and not see them. We have to look at them and say, I know what that is. It's plastic. So this morning I offer you a challenge. I'd like you each to go home and look at plastic with new eyes, new appreciation, and new fear, realizing that if we don't drastically reduce its use, it is going to destroy our planet. And I want you to commit to reducing your own plastic usage dramatically. And I have to give a shout out to the bingo ladies here, because they have hugely reduced the plastic waste of our bingo nights already. Thank you. And to help the rest of you with this homework, we have a little pop-up market downstairs at Coffee Hour with some really clever products that replace plastic in our everyday lives. There are a lot of things for sale down there that can get you started on your journey. Beeswax covers that replace saran wrap, bamboo utensils that replace plastic forks, and I am no longer jealous of the Ziploc bags my friends use, because for the last few years I have been using this for my sandwiches. So I ordered some for our pop-up store with some great whale and sea turtle designs on them. And our volunteer Jordan will be downstairs to show you all of the great things that we have. I hope you like them. And of course, you don't need to spend money to cut down on plastic. You can reduce, recycle, and reuse what you already have. Downstairs, you will also find some bird ornaments made by my sister Sarah that are entirely made out of reused plastic. A little artistic reminder about how we need to get creative about plastic. Those are on sale as well, and all the money from them will go to our Social Action Committee and their work on the environment. I end this morning with a Pledge of Allegiance to the Earth by Vern Barnett. I pledge allegiance to the earth and all life, the fields and streams, the mountains and seas, the forests and deserts, the air and soil, all species and reserves, habitats and environments, one world, one creation, one home, indivisible for all, affected by pollution anywhere, depleted by any waste, endangered by greedy consumption, degraded by faithlessness, protected, preserved by reducing, reusing, recycling, with conservation and reverence, the great gift renewed for all generations to come. May we strive to be good stewards of the web of life, of our beautiful blue boat home. Amen, and blessed be. And of course, after that, we have to sing Blue Boat Home. That is hymn number 1064. It's actually found in this book, Singing the Journey. Please join me for 1064, Blue Boat Home. Please rise as you are able. Please join hands for our closing words. If you can, turn your neck to set eyes on one of the children in our midst. Looking at these beautiful, precious souls, I invite you to renew your commitment to caring for creation, for their future as well as yours. No more plastic. Go in peace.